I would like to pose a question, if I may. Can a modern game recreate the feelings that you're nostalgic for? There's so many modern games coming out these days that tries to play on your nostalgia, so I think this is a question worth looking into. Let's look at the modern retro game, Roniu's Tale, and see if we can answer that question. Yeah, I know it looks like Ronius, but apparently it's pronounced Ronios. More on that later. For now, here's the sequence of events that led up to the review of this game. I got a Twitter notification that NES enthusiast and YouTuber John Riggs was reaching out to people who enjoy NES homebrew games. If you follow what I do on this channel at all, you'll know I'm a huge fan of the NES, and I especially enjoy trying and playing games that come out of the homebrew scene. In fact, you should probably subscribe to the channel now if you like reviews, let's plays, and live streams of NES homebrews. So I was hesitant at first to respond to the call, but I thought to myself, you know, it's not every day that John Riggs reaches out looking for people who do what I love to do and have a passion for NES homebrew games. So I sent him my info. And before I knew it, I was chatting with James, who is the co-founder of MegaCat Studios. James mentioned he thought the videos I put out were quality. It's a good thing he didn't look at our video for Fap Queen. And he agreed to send me a production cartridge of their latest NES game, Roniu's Tale. Also, during our email exchange, James agreed to be on a podcast I host called B-Sound Podcast, so we could discuss the game, MegaCat Studios, and really anything else that we felt like talking about. During our podcast chat, James confirmed the game name is pronounced Roniu's Tale.
We're here to talk about Roniu's Tale, a game we have live on Kickstarter for the NES.
Roniu's Tale. How do you pronounce that again?
Ronio?
Ronio. Because a cartridge was gifted to me and I spoke with James, I realized I could subconsciously be influenced to make a biased review. Because no one on YouTube would ever do that, right? No. What I plan to do here is make a very conscious effort to make sure that you have my honest opinion and discuss the good and bad of this game to help you decide if it's something that you want to invest your time into. Alright, enough backstory. Let's get into what you came here for. The game. Roniu's Tale is developed by Kunji Studios and published by MegaCat Studio. I would call Roniu's Tale a puzzle game, much in the vein of Adventures of Lolo or Solomon's Key, which are also for the NES. The twist here is how the floor breaks away as you step onto it, so you must think ahead about the path you take to reach your goal. The story synopsis of Roniu's Tale is our hero, Roniu, jumps down a hole and meets up with this ghost chick who tells him he has to collect all the orbs throughout all of the dungeons in order to make a wish to get himself and his new ghost gal pal out of the dungeon. I kinda wonder if this is paying a little nod to the opening story of Blaster Master. You know, where your character jumps down a hole, chasing after a frog, finds a freaking tank, and a whole new world to explore. Your classic nonsensical NES opening story. The graphics here are well done, the characters are small, but they're the perfect size for this type of gameplay, and they use a pretty nice color palette to express the game's characters. Speaking of the different characters, you have Roniu here, as well as this goblin, who, you know, he looks kind of cute, like if a Mogwai's skin just simply peeled off and revealed a green gremlin underneath. And then this is like a goblin-bird hybrid, I guess. We've got the Ghost, Move Over Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and One in the Stinky. We've got a new contender. And then we have these skulls. Now, I don't know this, but this might be an homage to the Skulls and Adventures of Lolo, which I think is kind of neat. Oh, and did I mention this game has bosses? Yeah, there's boss fights. In fact, the finished game is supposed to have 3 bosses, 47 levels, 4 power-ups, several more enemies, and 14 original songs. The music and sound design fits well within the game's parameters. The music feels like it belongs with its respective levels, and all of the sound effects that I've heard so far are appropriate. Let's talk about the different power-ups you have. You have fireballs, and no, this is not some kind of disease you get that sets your balls on fire. No, this is just what you shoot at enemies, as well as used to break blocks which are in your way. Then you have these boots, and in like most games that have boots, these allow you to jump. In the case of Roniu's Tale, you can jump over 1 space, and you're going to need to learn how to use this wisely. And then the other power that you have in this game, or at least the demo version of it, is the Ghost power. Now this allows you to pass through 1 solid block. Don't try to pass through 2, or you're going to become corporeal in the middle of the rock and die. The play control of the game is interesting. It plays a lot like Star Tropics, and if you ever played that game, you know it takes some getting used to. Essentially, what I mean by it plays like Star Tropics is you take one step per square. So every time you push on the D-pad once, you move forward one square. You can also hold the D-pad down, but this makes the control a lot less precise, and you'll end up falling off cliffs more often than you'd like, which in turn makes some of the more timed parts of the puzzles difficult and fun. So let's discuss the bad things in this game. There are a few minor complaints I have about this demo, and keep in mind this is an incomplete build, and after having spoke with James, I'm sure these things are going to be fixed.
Press to skip is like a godsend in games. We're going to have in a big update now that has that included and a number of other fixes.
But let's get into them anyway. My main gripe is with the game over password system. Every time you lose your 3 lives, it's a game over. Then you go back to the start screen, and when you continue using the password, you have to watch the opening cutscene again. Now you can press start to skip it, and it goes pretty quickly, but it annoyed me just enough to mention it, simply because it feels like it messes with the flow of the gameplay, which in all honesty could be on purpose, as we know NES games are notorious for punishing the player with consequences for loss. One other thing that bugged me a little is things can be a bit cryptic, but that's also nothing new for NES games. And also, I think a lot of it will be cleared up with an instruction manual. But if you're old-fashioned about it like me, you just experiment until you figure it out. And no, I don't think the folks at Nintendo Power can help you out with this one. So what's good about the game? The puzzles are put together really well. They're fun, they're addictive, and the way the difficulty ramps up, it seems to be a really proper progression for slowly teaching you how to play the game along the way. So the way things progress, the first dungeon, your power-up is the fireball, and they teach you how to use the fireball to destroy bricks and enemies. Then when you get to the second dungeon, you learn how to use the boots, and they have a simple puzzle there to learn how to use the boots, and so on and so forth. So who is this game for? Well, first off, if you're someone who wants to support the Kickstarter, if you're a collector, they have some pretty cool packaging that you'll probably enjoy. Now, me personally, unless I really enjoy the game, I usually buy a ROM, because I really just enjoy playing the games more so than collecting. But I do have a small collection, and it used to be a much larger collection, but I lost it many years ago in a flood. However, I do understand the collector's mindset, and this would be a nice package to add to your collection. Of course, if you're a retro gamer who loves the NES, and you like puzzle games, games like Lolo or Solomon's Key, then you're probably going to like this. It's a well-done NES puzzle adventure game. So I'll leave a link for the Kickstarter, so if that interests you, you can see what that's all about. So to answer the question, can a modern game recreate the feelings you're nostalgic for? Short answer, yes. See, Roniu's Tale brings back nostalgia in an unexpected way. It's not like in the way that this reminds me of something I've played before, though it does kind of remind me of Adventures of Lolo, but that's more like it's a nod to that game rather than a clone of that game. What Roniu's Tale manages to do is bring back that feeling of getting a new NES game, and you get to explore it for the first time. And I'm sure part of that is probably because I did have a physical cartridge to plug into an NES, as well as this is a real NES game, complete with all the glorious limitations the NES has to offer. It looks, plays, and feels right up there with any other classic puzzler on the system. So overall, was my journey with this game worth the time? Well, I'd like to think so. After some trial and error, I finally conquered the demo. I got to chat and learn from MegaCat Studios co-founder James, and I get the opportunity to share this story and game with you. I'd call that a win. So what do you think? Does Roniu's Tale look like a game you want to have in your collection? What do you think of new NES games on Kickstarter? Also, if you like this video, please hit like. If you disliked it, go ahead and hit the dislike button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And if you think other people might find this video valuable, please go ahead and share this video to your favorite social media sites. With that being said, thanks for watching, and see you soon.